Hi, my name is Morgan McLean, and the 5 articles that I've chosen to discuss today are Classroom Choreography, Enhancing Learning Through Movements by Donna Firmanek, Venturing Out in the World with Children by Salvatore Vassalaro, Creating the Nutritionally Purposeful Classroom by Carrie Kalich and Dottie Bauer, Reporting Classroom Behavior by Stephanie Feeney and Nancy Freeman, and Bringing Literacy Home, Latino Families Supporting Children's Literacy Learning by Stephanie Weasels and Guy Trainin. The first article that I'm going to discuss today is Classroom Choreography. This article was a research project that was done that figured out that children learn best through movement, and they typically have better test scores when they can move, and the children that are active, they usually do better on tests and just do better in school overall. The research that was concluded just decided that classrooms really need choreography done, whether it is in a certain place in the classroom or at a certain time. There need to be boundaries, but that students do learn best when they can move and that they typically achieve better. The article was very well written and very clear, and I do agree that students do need to have that choreography time to get up and move and be involved in activity, because young children are busybodies. They are typically always on the move, always wanting to go and do, and to have a whole day in a classroom where they need to sit at a desk and do their work or whatever, it becomes very complicated for young kids because they do want to get around and be active. So classroom choreography proved to us that children do need that, and also that students that are active are typically better at their test scores and achieve at higher levels. The second article is Venturing Out in the World with Children. This article discussed that how a 4-year-old Head Start teacher had a classroom, and she noticed that whenever the children got there in the mornings, that they would all crank their neck to look at what the construction workers out in the front were doing. So one day she decided to ask the students, what are they doing out there? And they all had something interesting to say. Breaking the concrete, they have big pipes, they have this kind of machine, that kind of machine. And every student was very intrigued in the conversation. Even those students that typically didn't get involved in discussions and weren't really into learning, I guess. And so all those students were very, 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 intrigued in it. So she decided to use this as a lesson. And she gathered her classroom up, and they went outside and they talked to the head construction worker and, asked, what are y'all doing? And he explained. And all the students were extremely interested. They were asking him questions, becoming really involved. And he explained that the reason they have electricity and all that is because of construction workers like them. And it helped the children realize that things don't just happen in the world, that there's cause and effect to things, that the reason they can have electricity and running water and their microwave and all that works is because there's people out there that are working on it. The children didn't, they learned to understand that it doesn't just happen out of nowhere, that something causes things to happen in the world. And this made the 4-year-olds really out into the world and more open about what's going on around them. The authors did an awesome job at just giving us that example and experience of how those 4-year-olds were interested to show us that they too need to venture out in the world. They don't need to just stay in a classroom and play all day and learn some lessons here and there. They need to be active out in the world. The third article is Creating a Nutritionally Purposeful Classroom. This article is very in tune with how obesity levels are rising in the United States. There are many problems with that, and it shows us that children watch teachers. They watch their every movement, they watch how they react, how they eat, all that. So teachers need to be influential on what they eat. They need to encourage healthy foods and eating habits. They watch what you eat at lunch. If you eat at lunch with your classroom, they're going to pay attention to that. They're going to pay attention whether you're eating greasy pizza every day, or if you bring a cup of yogurt and some fruit snacks. They're going to notice those things, and they're going to want to try what you eat. And if you eat healthy, then it's going to, want them to eat healthier too. This is just a great article because it does show us how teachers are role models. Whether they realize it or not, they're being watched by their students every day. The nutritionally purposeful classroom needs to include healthy foods in the kitchen centers. Include fruits and vegetables and all that, not just the play food and the desserts, because that is going to influence unhealthy eating habits. The authors did a great job by incorporating all the information that they concluded, and it was very clearly written and everything was clearly stated. The fourth article is reporting classroom behavior. This article had to do with a young boy that was misbehaving in class, and his parents came toward the teacher and said, "Look, every time he misbehaves, I want you to contact the child's father." And the teacher was a little confused at this at first because she felt like that if she told every time that he was misbehaving, then he would be punished wrongly at home. She was concerned that his punishments at home weren't equally to what he deserved. So she kind of battled with what she should do. She wasn't sure if she should really go tell the dad every time he misbehaved or try to handle it herself. She was stumped between what she should do, and she decided that she went back and she read the ethics, and she realized that having a bond with the parents is a very high priority. A good bond with parents is very important so that the parents trust you. But ultimately, the number one priority is the safety of children. And if she felt that he was being wrongly punished at home, then going forth and telling his parents every time he misbehaved at school wasn't the best thing for that child. She decided that she would try to handle it the best she could without confronting the parents every time, because she wanted the safety of the child to be the number one priority and didn't want him to get wrongly punished at home for things that weren't as big as what they were trying to make it out to be. The author did a great job by giving us this scenario because it really does put things into perspective. You do realize that is going to happen. You're going to have students that are wrongly punished and aren't treated as well as they probably should be at home, and you're going to need to know the boundaries and where to set them and how to communicate with those parents so that everybody is satisfied and pleased. The last article is Bringing Literacy Home, Latino Families Supporting Children's Literacy Learning. This article was about how Spanish is the home language and the main language in that home, and students that are their home language is Spanish don't always get the learning and literacy that they need because their parents and guardians don't feel comfortable with English as a language anyways. So they don't work with their kids on their literacy skills and all that they need to do, so those children lack. Well, Wessels and Trainin decided they were going to do a research and figure out if they could make a program where they had the parents come in and the kids come in and taught them how to promote literacy at home. It was a process, but they overcame it, and they decided they brought in bilingual books and had all kinds of things. They had refreshments at the end to make everybody feel comfortable, and it taught the parents about that literacy is important, to go over literacy at home with your kids, whether it is with a book. You need to, if some of them would read a page in Spanish and then have their children read it back in English, whatever makes them feel more comfortable, but that they do need to promote that because parents are a big influence to their children too. And even though they might not feel 100% comfortable, they need to make their children feel that way. So it was just talking about how to incorporate it all together and to make the parents feel comfortable so that they can make their children feel comfortable in that setting. The authors did a great job with this, and once again, them making that scenario and bringing that into play made it very eye-opening to the readers to realize just how important that is.